For the last month, probably more, Minnesota Democrats have been very vocal daily about wanting Operation Metro Surge to be reined in or ended. That, of course, includes Minnesota Congresswoman Angie Craig. She joins us now and all day to talk about this and some other things. Thank you, Congresswoman, for taking some time here to join us today.
It's good to be with you. It's an important time.
Yeah, let's first begin, though, with this other topic, what we were just talking about, and get your reaction to what you saw last night at this town hall event with your colleague, Representative Omar.
Well, I sent a text to my colleague as soon as I saw this online last evening. I do town halls in person. I've done them across my district, across the state of Minnesota, and I'm very concerned about the political rhetoric in this country and the fact that so many citizens believe that violence is the answer. So my heart goes out to her, and of course, we have to do everything in our power to stop the political violence in our country. And I would just remind everyone that assaulting a member of Congress is actually a felony. So there's that as well.
Okay. On to the topic of Operation Metro Surge. What is your sense, any insights into the changes here on the ground, Tom Homan's arrival in Minnesota to take over the border czar, and what this may mean for the future of this immigration action in Minnesota?
Well, I certainly hope this is the beginning of a drawdown of this surge and that immigration goes back to actually enforcing our law instead of violating the First, the Second, and the Fourth Amendment for American citizens. So, honestly, yesterday, a family member, someone who is married to my stepsister, was stopped randomly while trying to just get a soda at a gas station. 4 ICE agents surrounded him. He happens to be Hispanic. And so I do not see a change in tactics yet here from the racial profiling that's been occurring all across our community. So I hope this is the beginning of the drawdown, that Trump and Kristi Noem are going to stop their lawless actions here in Minnesota. But we'll believe it when we see it, and we'll keep fighting until we see it in our community.
Now, in recent days, obviously since the death of Alex Preddy on Saturday, we've heard a lot more now pushback from the Republican side of the aisle about some of these tactics. What are you hearing from your Republican colleagues in Congress?
Well, this is what we have been waiting for. I have been calling for my Republican colleagues to speak out when they see what they know is wrong, when they see overreach and tactics that they know violate the Constitution, which every single one of us have taken an oath to the Constitution, not to a president or a party. What I'm hearing is encouraging from a few of my colleagues in both the House and the Senate that certainly ICE in Minnesota has terrorize the citizens of Minnesota and is using tactics that no law-abiding police force would be using. I'd like to see a whole lot more from Minnesota colleagues who happen to be Republicans. And so, I would just encourage my Minnesota Republican colleagues to begin to speak out as well. This is happening at the epicenter of our community, and silence is complicity as far as I'm concerned here.
On that note, we should mention it was about 3 weeks ago. It was a pretty well-seen clip of video of you on the floor with Congressman Tom Emmer getting into a heated conversation. You spoke about that afterwards, mentioning that you were an angry congresswoman right there. And in that time since, have you had any further interactions or conversations with Tom Emmer about what has been happening?
Well, I'm not afraid to speak my mind to anyone, and neither is he. So what C-SPAN caught on the House floor was a private conversation with two people who obviously had something to say to one another. I saw Tom 2 days later as we got on the flight back to Minnesota. So a lot of Minnesotans were waiting for our interaction. It was cordial. Look, we work together, and we will continue to work together, but I'm not going to hold back when I see something that's wrong in our country and in our community. And to parrot the lies of calling Renee Good a domestic terrorist is what we were having a conversation about. But, again, they did it just last weekend with Alex Preddy, too. So clearly, my Republican colleagues in Minnesota haven't learned any lessons yet about the damage and danger of just emulating and parroting these lies that are coming down from Kristi Noem's ICE. She needs to go, whether through its impeachment or resignation. And the culture of ICE has got to be reined in. They are out of control currently in the Trump administration.
A lot of attention during this immigration enforcement, Operation Metro Surge, on the metro of, Minneapolis and St. Paul. But your district, which spans a large part that extends south of the metro area, what are you hearing from across your district about ICE operations, either raids or detentions or interactions in the greater part of Minnesota that you represent?
Well, there's a whole lot of profiling going on. The example I gave you from my own family was in my congressional district yesterday. Whole lot of profiling going on. Community members, of course, are very concerned. We're still seeing, warrantless arrests, people knocking down doors, even in the second district in the suburbs without judicial warrants. We're still seeing behavior from these agents that escalate situations within our community. So, I got a text last week from a dairy farmer who his individuals who work there, his employees wouldn't come to work. They're all there on work visas legally, but they are afraid to come to work because ICE agents are sort of sitting outside a dairy farm. It's that kind of behavior that is really making our communities less safe. And I tell you, one of the biggest calls I'm getting is from my own law enforcement in my district, who I have a really good relationship with, my police chiefs, my sheriffs, and they're getting calls of ICE agents just sitting in Menards parking lots, at gas stations, at Home Depots, at anywhere in the public where they can randomly target a black or brown individual. And that's against the law. It should be against the law, and it certainly violates the norms and codes of law enforcement across the Minnesota communities that I represent.
Yeah, and you represent a district that has been, very much described as a purple district. And, you have tried to note things that you have done that have been, bipartisan issues here. What are the things that you are hearing from constituents in your district? Again, from all vantage points here, are you hearing feedback supporting these actions, or are you hearing maybe misconceptions about what's going on? What sort of things are getting back to you?
You're exactly right. I represent a district that's about a third Democrat, a third Republican, and a third of my constituents don't really like either major political party. And 2 years ago, under the Biden administration, there was some concern from independents and what I would call moderate Republicans, not the MAGA base, but others, that the southern border needed to be more secure. We needed to make sure we knew who was coming into this country. Those same people who 2 years ago may have been saying that to me, as I represent them, are saying to me today, ICE is out of control. There's lawlessness in our communities. We don't recognize the federal government and their behavior, and you need to stand up and make sure it stops in our community. So, look, immigration and these issues, they're complicated. There's intersection, and the most important thing I think that each representative can do is listen to everyone. And my constituents right now are telling me to fight back against the Department of Homeland Security, their tactics, their targeting practices, and the Trump administration on these matters. The fact is, these independent voters believe this administration has gone way too far, and they're telling me that they didn't vote for this, even those who voted for Donald Trump.
And speaking of that, what are your thoughts on the president's apparent openness potentially now to allow state investigators, the BCA, to be part of these shooting investigations after there seemed to be such clear opposition prior to that? Have you heard anything more about how this investigation will play out in terms of allowing the state to be involved?
Well, we have believed from the very beginning of both Renee Good's killing as well as Alex Preddy this weekend that state and local investigators, just like we always do, should partner with the federal government for sure if you're going to have a fair investigation, but also so that the people of Minnesota can have confidence in the outcome of those investigations. And the behavior on the part of DHS, Kristi Noem, her acolytes, to immediately call both Alex and Renee domestic terrorists, to not give local BCA officials access to those crime scenes, was a huge issue in making sure that we have a full and fair and transparent investigation. So look, the president says something different today than perhaps he did 2 days ago. I'm sure that's because someone finally showed him just how out of step voters across this country are seeing his administration with respect to ICE enforcement. And tomorrow he could change his mind again. So I'm going to just prepare for the worst from this administration and keep fighting toward the best. I think that's the best any of us can do at this moment in time.
All right, we got about 1 minute left because I know you've got to get going here. I just have one more thing, and that is the potential of a partial government shutdown with the concerns about additional funding for ICE in the budget. Where do we stand on that?
Well, the Senate has some very important decisions to make this week, and I believe that Democrats in the Senate and Republicans who still consider themselves patriots need to stand up and refuse to vote for any package that doesn't pull back some of these tactics that Immigration and Customs Enforcement are using here in the Minnesota community. Because if you don't stop them now, this is our leverage point. If we don't stop them now here in Minnesota, it's coming to a community near you across the rest of our nation.
Congresswoman Angie Craig, thank you so much for taking time today to discuss a whole range of issues here related to this Operation Metro Surge. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.